and the Masters of the Universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull!" Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
Hello, this is OptimusSolo, and welcome to the 11th chapter in Tales of Eternia. With me for this journey into the Masters of the Universe franchise, as always, is none other than TFG1Mike himself. Hello.
That's right. Hello.
Hello. Are you ready, sir, for the powers of Grayskull?
Yes, I am ready, but before, we've got a little bit of business to talk about.
Business?
Yes. I am running a guilt trip campaign for people to leave us iTunes reviews. All these He-Man fans that I know on Twitter and Facebook, and everybody always says, "Oh, I don't have time to listen to podcasts. I do all kinds of videos, and I do all kinds of things for Mattel, and this, blah, blah, blah. I have no time to listen to podcasts, blah, 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 blah." As a producer of podcasts, I not only produce anywhere from 10 to 15 shows a week, a month, whatever, I also listen to at least 15 shows that are not my own podcasts. So I know people have time to listen to the podcast. We may need to ask again how people are listening to Tales of Eternia, because you all need to go to geekcastradio.com and look at the episode post, because we put awesome pictures in the post besides just the podcast art. So yeah, I'm currently running a guilt-tripping campaign where it's like, why aren't you listening to this? If you're He-Man fans, sound off.
Yes, debate, discussion.
If you are lovers of loincloths, sound off, damn it.
Question your He-Man fandom.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, oh yeah, we question, Pixel Dan, Count Marzo, the Puppet Duvall, Mike Lacey, Chris Vint, all those guys.
Where are you guys at?
Yeah, that's right.
Epic debates here.
Well, Chris Vint has a legitimate reason why he might not leave a review. He might leave a review, but we wouldn't be able to see it because he lives over in Ireland, I believe. So that's excusable, but still, you can still comment on the website posts. The other point of business that I want to talk about is DC is going to be starting up a new ongoing series, monthly ongoing series for He-Man and comics, and I picked up their 6-issue miniseries from last year. It's pretty good. I like it. It's interesting. I'm not sure if I would really recommend it. I'm very much looking forward to the new ongoing and seeing how that handles the stories and the property. But I tell you what I'm really loving are the 2 Origin books that DC put out. They put out Origin of He-Man and Origin of Skeletor. And oh my god, these are amazing comic books. You know how we're always talking about we want more backstory in the cartoon? Gotta read these 2 books to get the backstory. I mean, it's such a great... The art, the writing, it's so well done.
Who's writing them?
I'm probably going to screw the guy's name up. It's a guy named Joshua Hale Fialkov, Fialkov.
Okay.
And the artist is Ben Oliver. But I mean, just like...
I did see some of the pictures and some of the art, and I gotta say, it's a nice breath of fresh air from some other artists I know out there.
Oh boy.
Anyway.
I gotta tell you though, you gotta... I know we know the origin of He-Man and all that stuff, but just this book is just the art in it, in the way... I reviewed it on GeekCastRadio.com where I said that most comic books to me have a glossy finish, but this art, these visuals in this Origin of He-Man book are just, they look almost matte. And seeing Skeletor's face, oh my god, it's so good. The Origin of He-Man just came out. It's a one shot. It's only, if you get it at your local comic shop, it's only going to cost you $3. And most comic shops usually have discounts and stuff like that. It just came out, I think last month, last week, something. And oh my god, it's amazing. I can't tell you guys enough how awesome this book is.
And we will talk more in depth at that at a later date.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Most definitely. So.
All right. Well, in this episode of Tales of Eternia, we will be giving you our thoughts on episode 31, The Mystery of Many Faces, episode 32, Keeper of the Ancient Ruins, and episode 33, The Region of Ice. This also marks the halfway point of Season 1. So we hope you're ready, because it's time to go back to Eternia.
You two had better get this mess cleaned up or you'll miss our special surprise.
A surprise? Well, why didn't you say so? Well, we got the room all decorated, so where's the big surprise?
Right there. If you don't care for monsters, perhaps you prefer a robot.
What is your command?
Hey, I know who that is. It's Many Faces.
At your service.
Manny agreed to be our entertainment for the party tonight.
Take a look at the new faces I've been working on, Orko.
It's Skeletor.
And now...
How about this?
Beastman, that's really scary.
here's my grand finale.
Yikes!
That's the scariest one yet. What's this, a king-size Orko?
Many Faces? I'd like you to meet Duncan, our man-at-arms.
My pleasure.
I've heard my daughter Tila talk about you. She says you're quite an actor.
I am, thanks to her and to He-Man. And now, my friends, I must prepare for the show. I'll see you there.
What did he mean, thanks to Tila and He-Man?
That's right. You were away when it happened.
But I'll never forget it.
And neither will I. Would somebody please fill me in?
Well, it's a long story, but once Many Faces wasn't the kindly soul he is today. And if you don't believe me, you can ask our little friends the Widgets. For our story really begins with them and the monster that for several nights had been haunting their fortress.
So we start today with episode 31, and just the name of the episode by itself just raised expectations. The Mystery of Many Faces. Written by Paul Dini, and it is how we started our week, Monday, October 17th, 1983. Getting ready for a celebration, Prince Adam, Orko, and Cringer run into Many Faces. Man-at-Arms has never met him, so Adam tells him the story of how they came to know Many Faces. Many Faces once terrorized the Widgets and invaded their fortress, alerting both the heroes and villains of his appearance. Captured by Skeletor, Many Faces had to make the choice between serving good or serving evil. Be an evil warrior or be one of the masters of the universe. Time was running out for him as Skeletor and Beastman prepared to attack Castle Grayskull, and we had to see which way Many Faces would go. So for the bad guys, we basically had Skeletor and Beastman, and for the masters, we had the regulars with an appearance by the Sorceress, and of course, an appearance by Many Faces. So what did you think about the plot of this episode, sir?
Since we've been recently, as of maybe episode 9, I've tried to catch in the opening credits to see who the writer is going to be. Not necessarily to, sway my opinion either way, whether I'm going to like an episode or not. But I have that need to see who's writing these now, and I missed. I didn't want to rewind it or rewind it. I didn't want to go back and look at it. But seeing that it was written by Paul Dini, holy crap! I didn't like. I went through this whole episode and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing! Amazing! Like I didn't even know it was him, and honestly, had no clue. My notes for the plot are great storytelling and love the plot, very in depth. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a nice way to introduce Many-Faces, other than just having him show up and say, "Hey, Many-Face," kind of like what they've done with Stratos and Ram Man, where they just show up and you don't know anything about them yet. I mean, yeah, sure, we had Staff of Avion or whatever the hell that episode was way back when, but it's like that's one episode, and there really wasn't anything too backstory building.
I miss our ambiguously gay duo. Anyway. No.
Oh my god.
I agree. I'm not trying to interrupt you here, but I agree, and I think it was cool because it was like Man at Arms was almost like the viewer, like us watching the episode. Yeah. It's like, who is this guy? Like, here's this guy, Man at Arms spoke for us. Like, who is this guy? And then they explain it and they tell us the whole story, et cetera, et cetera. It was one of the first times we've had like the classic good old start at one point and then flashback to tell the story beforehand. Right. We haven't done that a lot in He-Man, so I thought that was cool. And yeah, just seeing the background and then the idea that not all Masters of the Universe have always been Masters of the Universe. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Not all these great good characters have always been great and good. In this case, there was a distinct decision on am I good or am I bad? So I thought that was kind of a cool little thing, the way to go about telling a origin story instead of just like, you get the idea that Stratos was a good character in his people. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of an easy transition to be a Master of the Universe. Not that we've been introduced to Ram Man's people, but you always get this idea that these good people are just the good people from these other races, and they're all coming together. But this time it was like an outlier, like a wild card, so to speak. But I didn't mean to interrupt you if you had more to say about the plot.
No. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, and again, it's good storytelling versus some of the crap that we had last episode.
It's true. It was a nice welcome refreshment, and as we started the new week.
Yes, exactly. As far as the PSA,
that was Orko and Many-Faces, and talking about how to memorize things and remember things.
Yeah, the whole point of the mystery of Many-Faces is that he overcomes being alone and an outcast and then going all mad and everything. Like he learns to control his emotions, and then of course at the end he gets a bunch of new friends. That was the whole point of him growing as a character. I wish the PSA for this would have been something to do with anger management, or something to do with what happened in the episode. The memorize like that.
Well, just kind of like the it could have been something about peer pressure and being pulled one way by one group or this way.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I did want to say one other thing too. It kind of was interesting to me how they had the thing like that. He was kind of like a neutral. He was neither good nor bad. He was just kind of his own like independent force. And I hate to say this because people hate probably when we make Transformers references, but it almost to me was like in Beast Wars when a new pod would fall.
Oh, most
you know definitely. What I mean? All of a sudden there's a new character on the scene, a new character in Eternia, and it's like we both need him on our side. So both, and what made it even cooler is that he's a character that has multiple faces.
Yeah.
As simple as that sounds, it makes it more believable that he could go either way. Because when he's like the scary monster face, he fits right in with the evil warriors. When he is, his more humanoid face, he fits, more in with the masters. And then of course you got the robot face and everything. So it's like it was a perfect character to have this tug of war in which way he was going to go.
Yeah, it was very, very, very awesome. Another thing I want to point out here, I know we're talking about the plot, but I think it kind of fits here. Was it last year? It was either in 2012 or 2011, I forget. He got his Masters of the Universe Classics toy, like his updated toy version, and they included not only the regular face, the monster face, and the robot face. As a second head, as a mystery head, they also included a head that had a He-Man face, a Skeletor face, and an Orko face for the toy. So awesome.
That is pretty cool.
So awesome.
All right, well, let's see what other good things we can say about this episode as we make our way to Castle Grayskull.
Do you think the monster might be back tonight?
I sure hope not.
Did you hear that?
It sounds close. Squinch, can you see anything? Squinch, where are you?
Whoa, right here.
It's scary up there.
Squinch, I'm warning you.
Yes, the monster was none other than Many Faces. But he wasn't the friendly actor we know now. In those days, well, he was sullen and harsh. A bitter outcast.
Go away, you creepy creature.
Let me in. Let me in. You little worms. I'll force you to open your door. Stay back.
Quick, Squinch! Fire the signal flare and call He-Man!
Oh, no, you don't. You're not calling anyone. I'm in charge here, and you can forget about anyone coming to help you.
So we're walking around Castle Grayskull, and I have a feeling we have a lot of stuff we're going to pick up along the way. I'll start. A couple things I already said. I like the flashback angle. I could be wrong. Maybe He-Man's used it before, but it seems to be one of the most memorable times where I've seen them do the whole flashback and tell the story that's already happened type thing. I enjoy that, as long as they don't do it too many times. Just simple things. I love the cake on Cringer's head in the beginning. When it fell on his head, that was kind of funny.
Well, now, hold on here. That ties into my first note. My first note is poor Cringer with a cake strapped to his head, and how it fell on his head is Orko bumped into him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was good. I like that Skeletor has probably one of my favorite lines of the episode, actually. It's pretty simplistic, but he's talking to Beastman and his need and desire to want to get Many Faces on their side. And he makes the statement that most of our evil warriors are in jail or on missions elsewhere.
Yep.
So it's like at least recognizing why we're not seeing some of the other people in this episode, or where have they been for some of this time.
Right.
Some of them might be in jail, some of them are off doing other things. It's a really, brief thing, and it seems, inconsequential, but for a writer to throw that in there, to point out why we're not seeing the other characters is something that's valuable to me. I like the fact that we have reappearances of the Widgets.
Yeah.
Is another race that's in Eternia that apparently is not just, I love it when it's not just a one and done thing. And it's like they live on Eternia, so we're not going to never see them again.
Right.
And especially since this is more of a flashback, so we got to see them in a different situation. I think the other time we got to see them was almost a similar type of flashback.
It wasn't, no. The other time in the Widgets, that wasn't a flashback. That was the first time we met them. They had the He-Man signal. It was, it wasn't a flashback. It was Skeletor trying to get a hold of the thing to go back in time, or what, I don't know. No. It was Skeletor with the Cordite.
Yeah.
With the He-Man thing where he's gonna make himself grow and defeat He-Man. But that wasn't a flashback, though.
Okay.
The only other time, I'm sorry to cut you off, but the only other time I really remember at this point, like right now as we're discussing it, the only other time I really remember flashback stuff is when Marlena told her backstory. But I see what you're saying about starting off with something that happened and then flashing back in the middle. I do like that, but I do agree with you. It shouldn't be used every single time.
I love the idea, obviously, like we said, that Many Faces actually gets a backstory. Very simple here. I've said it before. And I know there's stock animation, and we've talked about it multiple times with different characters, especially He-Man. There's a lot of stock animation.
Mm-hmm.
I freaking am in love with the stock animation that they use when Skeletor laughs. When he just does the head tip back thing and go forward, and the sound that Alan Oppenheimer gives as his laugh. Like, it's just epic.
It is.
So I love that. I kind of got a vibe of almost like a Beauty and the Beast element here, with Manny-Face being, the beast that no one can understand, and he's just like walking into town, not wanting trouble, but everyone's afraid of him.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that, and I like that they actually show how he got his name. It might be cheesy, and it might be something that other people would rip on, but he doesn't have a name at first. He talks about not having a name, and Orko comes up with it, and he's like, he says Manny Faces, and he's like, that's it. His Manny Faces. So I kind of like that they actually even showed the origin of where he got his name. How about you?
I remember having the vintage toy of Manny Faces. I remember the gimmick and all that stuff, but I very rarely did I remember. Like when I was watching this back, it was like I was 6 or 7 again, because I didn't remember this episode. I barely remembered Manny. I honestly did. So this was like brand new to me almost, and I just absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. I love we finally see the many faces of Manny Faces. I thought that was awesome, and the storytelling. And again, like I said, I didn't notice that this was Paul. Like I didn't even notice that this was Paul Dini. So it isn't me just praising him because I love his stuff. It's the fact that this is a someone who didn't see the credit, and just watched the episode to watch it, and it was just an amazing story. Turn off the Falcon.
Which part was that?
This is the scene when Zor comes in.
Oh, okay.
And she's cawing, and Adam and Cringer are asleep, and Cringer's like, turn off the alarm clock, Adam. We don't have an alarm clock, Cringer. Turn off the Falcon. Falcon?
Okay, yeah.
This is so fucking awesome. That's great. And that's really all I have. I just really love it. Like, I really love this episode. There's not a single thing I almost could find wrong with it. It's so damn good.
Alrighty. Then let's see what, if anything, we can find on a trip to Snake Mountain.
Take a look, Beastman. I think you'll find this interesting.
Who is he, Skeletor?
I don't know, but with most of our evil allies in jail or on missions elsewhere, I could use his sinister power. Get the collector ready. We'll leave for Widget Woods and meet this mysterious stranger.
Alright, now that we're in Snake Mountain, let's see what we can find, if anything. What do you see here, Mike?
Like I said, I love this episode. There was only one thing that kind of popped out at me, and I was like, what the hell? It's after the Falcons, where it's after Prince Adam and Cringer get up, after Zor wakes them up. And this is something that we need to talk about. I don't know if it's an animation flaw, but sometimes that when Adam is in the He-Man form, there's sometimes where the sword pulls an Optimus Prime trailer bit, where he didn't pull it out, it didn't fall out, no one stole it, it's in the scabbard and then it's not. But the moment here is he's asleep, so obviously he's got to keep the sword somewhere. Apparently he likes to keep the Sword of Power behind a bookcase when he's sleeping in his bedroom. I just found that really, really strange. I didn't really care. Like, you would think if this is the most powerful, supposedly the most powerful weapon on the planet, or especially to Adam, it holds the power of Castle Grayskull, you would think that there would be, I'm not saying there has to be like, an alarm with laser beams and stuff, but you would think that, I don't know, that was really the only thing that rubbed me the wrong way.
Protected or something?
Yeah, you would think.
I can't find much in Snake Mountain other than we do get the backstory, we do get the origin of Man-E-Faces, and as far as how he became a master of the universe. What we don't get, really, they don't really touch on where he actually comes from.
Well, I would think that whatever the town the Widgets live in, I don't think we've ever heard the name of the town to this point in the series in the cartoon. I would just assume that he's from there, because if he's... Well, no, I can't, because they said that...
He just kind of came into the town and kind of scared them all.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I still don't know where on Eternia he came from, or if he came from another planet or what.
That doesn't
bother me. It would have been cool to know where exactly he came from. We still have the whole Sorceress Zor thing.
Yeah.
Because in this episode, she definitely became the sorceress away from Castle Grayskull.
Yeah.
So that there's still not a definitive. We still don't know what harnesses her power, what controls what she can and can't do. So that question still kind of bothers me a tiny bit.
Yeah. What else bothered you?
Well, the one thing that really bothered me in this episode, even though it's a very small part, did they have to make Man-E-Faces cry?
Well, that's better than what's going to happen in an episode later on today.
That was lame, though. It was freaking lame that a tear comes down Man-E-Face's face. It was not necessary.
Yeah. Since we're talking about the sorceress also, I can't help you. I have to keep up my defense of Skeletor by throwing a red ball at him multiple times.
That's funny.
Look, it was funny, and that's why I didn't write it down as a Snake Mountain moment, but I mean, okay, and again, like we mentioned, we know, stock animation, they used it, that's fine, that's great, but to me, it was just like Bart Simpson shooting a slingshot at Homer. That's all that was doing. Yes, I know that the ship exploded and flipped over. It was funny, but it was just like...
I always kind of grew up and had this idea of the sorceress as this epically powerful and cool character in the He-Man franchise.
And she's turning out to be a lame-o.
No, the more I see of her, the less I think she's great.
Yeah.
Powerful. She never is powerful enough. She's always overpowered. She's always having her energy zapped. It's like she's always tired.
Even in this episode, she's at Grayskull. She's standing in the fucking window, and she says, "My powers are most powerful here in Grayskull. I can defeat Skeletor this way." 5 seconds later, "I'm so tired. I'm a damsel in distress. He-Man, help me. I can't stop throwing red balls at this guy." It's so fucking stupid. And it's not, I don't think it's a product of Paul Dini's writing at all, because it's just the way that it doesn't matter who's writing the character. That's how they've you always want to bring up character continuity and people knowing how to write characters in this series. That's one thing none of the writers have gotten right.
Well, or that's just how they all are supposed to have her, and it just seems like it's a stupid decision, but they're all going by it. But yeah, she should just be either more powerful, or I'm sick of seeing her overpowered by every little thing. But that was not a complaint about this episode. Just don't make people cry tears ever. All right, let's hand out some awards and become positive again about this great episode. Let's move on.
But Skeletor wasn't the only one watching the stranger. Zoar the Falcon had seen the Widget's troubles and flew to tell me.
Adam?
Yeah?
How about turning off the alarm clock?
We don't have an alarm clock.
Well, then turn off the Falcon.
Okay.
Falcon?
Okay.
All right, time to give out some hardware for the mystery of Man-E-Faces, and I will go first with one of the most predictable and unsurprising power swords that we're going to give out in this entire series. I'll give power sword to Man-E-Faces.
Agreed. Same here.
Any Havoc staff, sir?
I wasn't going to, because the episode is so great, but Sorceress, she deserves yet another one. That's what we need to do. We need to go back and count how many Havoc staffs we've given to each character.
Oh, I have it.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I make up your mind. Either you're powerful while at the castle, you're a weak bitch at the castle, or just make up your damn mind.
Sorceress is not leading the way, though, yet, by the way.
I'm scared to ask who is.
You should know who is leading the way in Havoc staffs.
Doug Booth?
No, another female.
Oh, yes. That doesn't surprise me. Well, she is the daughter.
Sorceress is behind her, though, in second place. So,
it's an interesting visual.
How about a number of Orcos that you're giving this episode, sir?
5. Easily. 5.
And I will...
There are certain... Okay, hold on before you go. There are certain things that I can see people will nitpick at this one, and there are certain things that I nitpicked at, like with Sorceress. But just the overall fact of Manny's origin and his backstory and just the way that it came around and came about, it deserves a 5.
I will agree mostly, but slightly less, and I will give this one a 4.5. 4.5. 4.5. Not quite 5. It could have been a little better. Epic. Could have been more epic. That's all.
Okay.
Don't make Manny faces cry, damn it. All right, we started off on a great note for the week and a great note for this episode. Let's see where we go from here when we get to episode 32.
A book?
A book that has been lost for centuries. This is Professor Smolin speaking. Tila, can you hear me? I believe we have uncovered the Book of Ancient Eternia.
That's wonderful!
It is written in the ancient language. We must translate it. Can you interface the Lango computer to the radio?
I'm one step ahead of you, Professor. It's all set.
Oh, smart girl, that one.
Of course, she takes after me.
All right, here we go. Page 1. Zactons, 1,000-year-old robots.
What's that?
Why, we're surrounded by antiques.
Maybe so, Professor, but I think they mean business.
It's Tuesday, October 18th, 1983. It's episode 32, entitled Keeper of the Ancient Ruins, written by Lee Robert. Man-at-Arms and Professor Smolin search for artifacts in the ancient ruins, but during a radio communication, the 1,000-year-old Zactons appear. Tila, along with Prince Adam and Cringer, race to the sands of time, but a storm knocks the Wind Raider out of the sky and into a cavern. He-Man calls on the Sorceress to aid the unconscious Tila, as he and Battlecat leave to find Man-at-Arms. Unknown to all, Trapjaw has seen the events unfold and decides to journey to the sands of time himself. We have the regular good guys, we have Trapjaw as the evil warrior, and we have a PSA from He-Man about the value of knowledge and going to museums and learning about your past.
Yeah.
Okay, the Keeper of the Ancient Ruins. Would you like to tackle this plot?
Sure.
I don't mean physically tackle it.
Yeah, I know. No. I liked it. I thought it was interesting. We saw a new area this time around, the desert. We haven't been to the desert yet, so I like that. I'm trying to think what else.
I mean, basically, they're uncovering this ancient book that's supposed to hold the secrets to Eternia.
Right.
And then, these robot things just, get all, protective about it, and they start freezing people, and all this.
It's a Indiana Jones type.
Yeah, so they have to freeze all the people so they can't steal any of the artifacts, because all the bad people always try to steal the artifacts and not use them for the right purposes, etc., etc. Freezing Man-at-Arms and all this other stuff. And I don't know, it's just...
You almost did not need He-Man and Tila in this. Mm-hmm. This is solely a Man-at-Arms episode. You did not need the others. If He-Man and Tila were not there, or Prince Adam and Tila were not there, it wouldn't have made any difference, because this is Man-at-Arms. This was his time to shine in this week's episode, or in one of this week's episodes back in '83. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. The PSA, It's all right.
For me, it's just a little too much all over the place because you got Man-at-Arms and the Professor trying to find the artifacts, and they're dealing with these robot things. And then you have Tila getting knocked out and having to be revived, and is she going to live or die, etc. Then you got Trapjaw coming in, and he's going to try to, steal stuff and do all this stuff. And I don't know. It was just like there was a lot of weird things going on that I just didn't connect them all. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was not a big fan of this plot. I thought it had potential as far as, something about the history of Eternia and artifacts, and there's a book that's going to tell us secrets about stuff, and then the robots got involved, and even though I'm a sci-fi buff, it went downhill from there for me. All right, well, let's see what good things we can say about this episode at Castle Grayskull.
Here, you must prove yourself. We will watch very carefully.
I'll do nothing to harm any of you. You'll see.
All right, I'm going to start at Castle Grayskull because it'll be brief, and then you can talk. I didn't know that Eternia had a university.
I'll get into that in Snake Mountain.
I thought about where I should put that in Castle Grayskull or Snake Mountain. I guess it's okay because the only reason I think it's okay, and I decided to put it in Castle Grayskull, is because they're not like a modern society, and it's the idea that it has some type of university is kind of weird, but they are kind of that sword and sorcery type ancient thing where I could almost envision it like a university more in the style of like the Greeks and the Romans, where you just had like a place where just like the few select really genius people would go, not like a university like we have universities, more like like a Plato and Aristotle and that type of thing. So I can accept it. Anyway, like I said, I like the idea of a book about ancient Eternia and what info could possibly be in there. I thought Adam did a real good job playing dumb at the end of the episode. I thought that was kind of a highlight. And, I like that, in the inability to be original, that they decided, heck, we need robots. Let's just bring in the maid from Spaceballs and replicate her, and that will be our robot race. I don't know. That's a stretch. That's the only thing I can say good about this episode.
I love how the episode starts off without either Adam or He-Man, and again focuses on the other Masters because it focuses on Man-at-Arms this time around. Really, Adam? I don't have the stomach for it today. I love I can't say enough how much I love Cringer. Cringer is just so awesome. We've talked about this before, and you defended this. You defended this almost to the death about transformation in weird places when it happens. This is one time that I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Transformation right next to Tila while she's unconscious and while sitting in the Wind Raider. Now that is an interesting way to do the transformation. I thought that was pretty cool.
It's getting pretty risky though with its transformations.
Yeah. And I love when Battle Cat scares the heck out of the bad guys because Trapjaw. He-Man's like, watch out, Battle. He says something with Battle Cat's name in it, and Trapjaw's like, ha ha ha, He-Man, you're not gonna get. That's the oldest trick in the book. You're not gonna get me to fall for that. Roar. Trapjaw turns around, he goes bug-eyed. I love that. I thought that was great. Like you, I like how Adam plays dumb at the end. I thought that was great. That was pretty funny. I don't know. I really, even though I'm gonna have Snake Mountain stuff in here, but overall, I really enjoyed that. Like this was a non-Skeletor episode. That sure, Trapjaw's there, but it's like Trapjaw's gonna go out on his own, and I'm gonna prove to Skeletor that I can, capture whoever, do whatever kind of evil deed, whatever. But it's like, this is an episode that doesn't feature Skeletor that actually works, unlike Cannabis or Carnivorous or whatever the hell dumbass baby bird stealing guy
Cannabis.
was. Whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Or Cannabis.
Cannabis, whatever.
This is going in a bad place, so we should follow suit and go to a bad area.
That's right.
What are you doing?
Making a little trap for the storm.
Here it comes!
we're searching for a bed area, and we found one in Snake Mountain. I will let you go first, and then I will follow for a while.
Well, you mentioned it earlier that you like that the university thing might be for like Aristotle or that kind of like Wile E. Coyote super super geniuses and all that stuff. But I'm sorry, I don't like. I know Eternia is a civilization of many wonders, but this is the first time a university is ever mentioned. When the hell did they get this university? Because if you think about it. If you think about it, let's think about this for a minute. Adam would have had to have gone to, elementary, high school, college, whatever. But they never have, to this point in the series, they've never said anything about that. They introduced this new character in Professor Smallens, and, he's essentially an old Squinch, because it is John Irwin doing an older Squinch voice. I don't buy this. I don't buy this whole university thing at all. No.
He looked a little too much like Zagras for me.
Yeah, that too. Again, stock animation, but I don't understand Sorceress's messenger bird thing. Did it telepathically talk to He-Man? If so, we never heard anything like we normally hear stuff with Sorceress. Like when Sorceress calls out to him and he, puts his two fingers to his head or whatever else, and he's like, "Quiet, Orko, shut up. Sorceress is talking to me telepathically." We never, the bird just stares at He-Man, flashes its eyes, and then that's it. You never, I didn't like that. I thought it was just weird. Weather patterns can't be trapped underground. Who the fuck wrote that in the script? That was just, I'm sorry, that's just dumb. I know there can be ground lightning, I get that. They can come up from the ground and all that stuff, but I'm sorry. A whole storm being able to go underground, fuck that writing right there. That's just fucking dumb. A robot tear. Ugh, I liked it better when Manny cried. Ugh, that's... Robots don't have tear ducts, god damn it. What the hell is wrong with this writer? Fucking hell. Piss me off. Okay. Yeah, I'm done.
Did I accidentally send you my notes? All right, well, let's see here. I will just go in order of what I had written down originally. All right. First of all, I thought Adam was taking... I understand that you like the transformation thing, but I think that was a very risky move by Adam and not the brightest thing to do, to transform in front of a unconscious Tila who could come to at any time. Or the fact that even if she doesn't come to, she was in the thing with Adam. What if she comes to and now she's in the thing with He-Man?
Yeah.
I understand why it is kind of cool or whatever, but to me it didn't help. As cool of a move as it is, and it kind of makes you like, oh, what if she's going to find out? To me, it takes a little bit away from Adam as a character. Like, that's not a very bright thing for him to do.
I don't know, because yes, I do agree that she did, go unconscious with Adam being there, but thankfully the writing made up for it, because it was Adam that, they kept her unconscious the entire time, and then they, and then they came up with the whole excuse of, oh, He-Man, what do because she came to and whatever else, and she saw He-Man. And then she was away somewhere, and they were off fixing the Wind Rider. And then Cringer's like, yeah, we fixed the Wind Rider. Adam's like, we? So, in the cave, she never actually saw He-Man in the cave. So I can kind of buy it. I see why you have a problem with it. But at least it's not, transforming in midair where you could...
No, I'm just saying Adam had to take a real big leap of faith that she was going to stay unconscious for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Let's just see how many of these you didn't say. You said this one, but my note was, what the fuck was that messenger pigeon thing? Question mark. That was weird.
Yeah.
It almost reminded me of one of the Hawks from Silverhawks. Like one of Tallyhawk or whatever.
No, Tallyhawk was much more...
I know, just the look of the bird. It was like one of those types of birds. But, I don't get that at all. I don't get where that bird came from. I don't get why the writer wrote it in here. I don't get what its purpose was besides that it's a bird that can somehow revive the dead, I guess. But if Sorceress has this partner in crime or this secret weapon. Why? And it has this much power. Why have we never seen it before? Are we going to see it again? I hope not. But then again, if we don't see it again, then how is this most powerful magical bird only in one episode?
And did they explain why Sorceress couldn't come herself as Zor?
It was just a weird thing altogether. I don't get it
was
at all.
Yeah,
and then the bird did weird stuff, and it was freaky. I didn't like the bird.
Ladies and gentlemen, watch this episode when you're high on drugs, and you'll get freaked the fuck out.
Back with that cannabis stuff. My next note: storms don't work like that.
Linkus too. Wait, what'd you say?
My next note was storms don't work like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That was retarded. You can't open up the world or the earth and let a storm get, is going to detour like it's a freaking bumper car down into the... That was stupid.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Okay, so apparently when you trap somebody in time, that causes them to levitate. Because every time the robot trapped somebody in time, they immediately levitated horizontally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there was a scene where I don't know if it was He-Man and Cringer or Battlecat or Orko or who was talking to who, but He-Man basically said, they figure out that Trapjaw's there or whatever, and He-Man's like, Trapjaw's always around when there's trouble. What?
It's just something that they wrote.
It's something that sometimes works if you're talking about Skeletor.
Right. Well, but
Trapjaw's not in every episode.
Okay, but the difference here is that the evil warriors are more present.
Well, if they would have said Skeletor's henchmen are always around,
right,
or something.
Right, but
they specifically were like Trapjaw's always around when there's trouble, and I'm like, no, he's not.
Right, but again, and I know people are gonna hate this, but take Mask, please take it.
Far away.
You've got Miles Mayhem, okay?
Yeah.
You've got Dagger and you've got Sly. Sly he has his dumbfounded moments, but generally he is the smart one out of the two. Mm-hmm. Okay? And you take Dagger. Dagger's a dumbass. Dagger is one of the worst villains out of any 80s cartoon. Go over to He-Man, okay? You got Trapjaw, Merman, whoever, out of all these evil warriors. Yes, they do stupid stuff. Don't get me wrong. But they are at least competent enough, unlike Dagger. Or, yeah, I think that's... I don't remember the stupid...
You're right.
Yeah. They are at least competent enough to have the ideas of actually doing evil deeds. So I can kind of overlook...
My problem is not that. My problem is, to me, it's the equivalent of Skeletor being like, oh, Stratos, always foiling my plan. No, he's not. He's only been in 5 episodes. I know Trapjaw's in a lot of them, but it just seemed weird to say that. Trapjaw's not always the one causing trouble. Sometimes evil warriors aren't even in episodes, and sometimes if they are, it's just Beastman or just Evil Lyn or just Skeletor. I don't know. Okay, so we've already seen Man-at-Arms multiple times wielding the lightsaber.
This is the second time.
No, we don't see it in this episode. We'll see it in the next one.
Yeah.
But what we do get is a scene right out of Star Wars where Han Solo in Carbonite horizontally levitating is being ushered across the stage.
Yes.
Somebody really likes Star Wars, besides me. And then my last note, and you've already mentioned it, another fucking tear. 2 episodes in a row. This time, it's from a fucking robot machine thing. Which, by the way, as I said in the plot, they're called the Zactons, and the 3 that speak are named Alpha, Beta, and Kappa.
God.
And they cry.
See, okay, this is why I don't mind Manny crying, because Manny was crying for the fact that, oh my God, people are,
It's just the stupid way they do it in animation.
No, I know, I get it, but what I'm saying is the reason why I don't mind Manny crying is because he's crying, it's almost like a tear of joy where he's crying to the point that people have actually accepted him for who he is, and people are now socializing with him, and people are now, bringing him into their lives. A fucking robot tier? Give me a fucking break. It's so fucking stupid. I can't fucking believe they fucking wrote that in the fucking script.
Okay, stop with your fucking...
First of all, robots don't fucking cry. They don't fucking cry. They have no tear glands. They're made of metal, machinery, computer chips, and parts.
I just would like to see one example of any cartoon or animation, 80s or before, that pulled off the tear in a believable way. Because I swear to God, it's just an emotion and an action that at this point animation could not handle. Because it's always like the character is just standing there looking completely normal. There's no build up to it. It's just a completely normal person looking into the distance, and then all of a sudden a tear will form and run down their face. Like, there's no... They did not do crying well.
So, are you not counting Daniel's crying in 86 when Optimus died?
That was somewhat better, because there was an actual build-up to the moment. Like, a lot of times, though, it's just like, you just have a character, and then it's all of a sudden like, oh, we want him to cry. There's no build-up, there's no breakdown, there's no leading up to it. It's just like, tear manufactured now, let's make it look fake, and let's make it run down their face in like a brief second at the end of an episode to try to add some type of emotion. I don't like it. Do not like it. All right, let's move on.
Where have I been? What about you?
We've been fixing the Wind Raider.
It's hardware time. What do you have? Power swords or havoc staffs? Or neither?
Both, actually. I got 2 power swords. I gotta give one to Cringer for going on even though he didn't want to. Just because he ate a bad green apple. Also a power sword to Man-at-Arms for being an understanding kind of guy and showing the robots that he just wanted to actually help them. Like, they just were not listening whatsoever, and all he wanted to do was to, be able to help them. And he was proving to them, even before they were like, here's your tools, now prove to us that you're going to... Even before that, he was trying to show them that he was going to help them and not take the treasures or whatever else. So I gotta give a power sword to him. Havoc staff to the fucking writer. Holy shit.
Lee Robert.
This episode is... certain parts of it were written well, other parts of it just suck. What about you?
I will echo that thought. I really didn't have one, but with the tear and the storm that goes below it and all this weird bird thing, I don't know why these things were brought into the He-Man universe, so Lee Robert gets a havoc staff from me as well. Yeah. And as far as your Orcos?
1 out of 5.
1 out of 5. Did you have a change of heart on this episode? I will give it a 1.5.
Yeah, 1 out of 5. It's just...
I don't like anything about this episode, really. It's not the worst episode we've seen, but...
Okay. I honestly don't know what the hell I was thinking when I was watching this, because I initially wrote down 5 out of 5. And then, again, as we've talked it out, as we've, discussed it, and as we've gone over it, it's like, yeah, this episode really sucks.
It's just too many weird things.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is like, Count Marzo says that, was it Quest for the Sword or Quest for He-Man? He said on Twitter, Quest for He-Man is his like #1 or top 10 best, most trippy He-Man episode ever out of the original Filmation series. I would say this comes to a close friggin' second, because there's a lot of psychedelic shit in this.
It's just weird.
Very much so.
All right, well, let's get on away from Tuesday and let's see what Wednesday brought us this week.
I use some more of my magic to find everyone.
That's good, Slush. Thank you.
Oh, no.
My apologies, Your Majesties, for this rude treatment. I had hoped our first meeting would be under more pleasant circumstances. So now we wait until that legendary hero, He-Man, appears for your rescue.
Well, he's got a long wait coming. He doesn't know it, but he's got He-Man right there.
All right, we move on to Wednesday, October 19th, 1983, to find The Region of Ice, written by Patrick Duncan. When King Randor, Queen Marlena, Prince Adam, Man-at-Arms Orko, and Tila go on a skiing vacation, one by one they suddenly disappear, leaving Orko the only one left, who discovers a tunnel leading to an underground frozen cavern. He finds the royal family imprisoned in blocks of ice by the Ice Lord. Having never met He-Man before, the Ice Lord is tricked into believing Orko is He-Man. The Ice Lord explains that Skeletor is holding his daughter Snowflake captive. Orko bargains to free Adam, but can even He-Man and Orko save Snowflake from Skeletor and his evil warriors this time? Bad guys, the evil warriors, we have Skeletor, Trapjaw, and Beastman, and we got the regs for the Masters. And then we have a PSA from Man-at-Arms about the value of keeping your promises.
Well, I don't necessarily think you can say this is just the regs, because this episode is the most we've ever seen out of Randor and Marlena.
That's true.
So, I mean, yes, there are the regs of He-Man Orko, or Orko Man and Hiko, or whatever, and Tila and Man-at-Arms. But this is the one episode to this point in the series that we have seen more than 5 seconds of Randor and Marlena.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there was the episode a while ago where we talked about Randor being a dick to Adam. There was that episode, so there was like one episode where, but I mean, like, as far as them as a couple, as king and queen, being together on screen, this is the first time that we've seen more than 5 minutes or less.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so I like that about the plot. I'm glad that the Ice Lord isn't just, oh, my master Skeletor, blah, 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 blah. Like, Skeletor actually did something to this guy. And that's why he has to, like, I like that whole angle. Instead of just making this guy a one-off villain of, oh, my master Skeletor had me do this, and I must serve him, and blah, 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 blah.
No, it comes across as a very independent individual that's separate from all the evil warriors and masters in a way. Yeah. I just like the fact that it isolates all the other characters and they're all frozen in their own little blocks, and so it's like they're out of the picture, so it kind of focuses it a lot on, in this case, Orko and He-Man, and I like the whole paradox of them not knowing who they've heard of He-Man, they know he's like a heroic individual, but they've heard stories, they've never seen him. So I like that whole angle, and that Orko gets to play as He-Man and can try to convince him to let Adam go so He-Man can come into play, all that stuff. And the other part about the plot I really like is that it gives a focus on Snake Mountain.
Yeah, it does. Very much so.
And what's going on there, and what the Evil Warriors' daily kind of assignments or posts are, and it just kind of does a lot at Snake Mountain, so I kind of like that part about the plot. But I like the idea that we have a foreign, in this case I call him foreign because Ice Lord is not someone we've seen before, individual who's had someone kidnapped, so it kind of plays, it's almost like that whole Skytree thing, where it's like, I need my daughter back, so I have to make a deal with the devil and try to trap the royal family, so I kind of like that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
go ahead. The PSA, finally, a PSA today that we actually have that ties into the episode. I really like that, because that's a really good message of, once you make a promise, you should keep it. Yeah. Not just back on your word. So
and you should not just make a promise with no intentions of keeping it either.
Right.
So I thought that, because, Orko didn't intend to keep his promise at all, but then he was basically like, oh, I better do that, and that worked out for the better.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, let's see what we can find at Castle Grayskull, because most of this episode obviously took place in Snake Mountain.
But if it must be, I will use all of my resources to try and stop you. I have others like Slush, and I have powers of my own. I don't want to do this.
Then why are you?
Because I must. Perhaps we can strike a bargain.
What kind of bargain?
The evil Skeletor has taken my daughter. She is being held against her will at his castle. For her return, I have been ordered to turn over the royal family. If you will rescue my daughter, I will free your friends.
You will free them first?
That I cannot do.
But I insist you free one as a token of good trust.
I have your word as He-Man that you will free my daughter.
You have my promise that I will try.
It is agreeable, then. Which one?
The one on the end.
Why that one?
He is my assistant.
He-Man, thank you for rescuing me.
You're not mad at me for impersonating He-Man, are you?
No, you did what you had to do to save us.
Phew, good. Now you can become He-Man and we'll rescue the others.
No, first we must journey to Skeletor's lair and rescue the Ice Lord's daughter. You gave your word as He-Man.
I suppose a promise is a promise.
But He-Man will be needed for the immediate task. By the power of Grayskull!
All right, we find ourselves at Castle Grayskull in a weird paradox, and some stuff that I like.
Okay.
I love the angle that Orko pretends to be He-Man, like I said before. I like that he somewhat pulls it off in a lucky stance or whatever, but what it does make me think is, and what it makes me think of, we have had Man-at-Arms with a lightsaber. We have him again with a lightsaber in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
We had the whole Han Solo and Carbonite in the last episode. And now we have Orko doing an impersonation of C-3PO when he was worshipped by the Ewoks. There's Star Wars stuff everywhere. That's all it made me think of, is like how C-3PO kind of like clumsied his way into being worshipped. Orko clumsied his way into being believed that he was He-Man. But I do like the bargaining that takes place. I like that Orko had to bargain. He sees Adam there in the frozen ice there, trap, whatever. He's got to find a way to get him out. So I kind of like that whole that he bargains with the Ice Lord back and forth. I like how each character is frozen solid. And I like that Orko can only pick one to help him, basically. How about the new, interesting music selection that we have in this episode? I don't know if you caught it, but it was almost an air of hip-hop in there. There was actually a beat to the music at one point. I'm not just talking about like a subdued beat, like, there's been a specific type of music being used for He-Man. This episode broke that mold a little bit. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch this episode and pay strict attention to the music background, because there is some different themes used that I've never heard before.
Well, that's what you get from Ham Saban and Shuki Levy, Power Rangers creators.
Don't ever say that word again.
Dude, I swear, I've got a picture of Castle Grayskull that says, I'm not even joking with you. I've got a picture of Castle Grayskull, music conducted by Shuki Levy and Ham Saban.
I'm not saying anything. They did half the music back there. It just has nothing to do with Power Rangers. Stop talking about Power Rangers. I'm just saying that was.
What I'm saying is the music, because it's done by those people. Those are the people that created Power Rangers. That's what I'm saying.
They did a lot, but I'm just saying it was a weird, like, upbeat, actual, like, heavy bass beat in this, and it was interesting. I love seeing the different parts of Snake Mountain, and that Trapjaw had his post, watching this actual Snake's Mouth, and the Beastman and Skeletor are back in the headquarters kind of chilling out, and just kind of all the different aspects of Snake Mountain were kind of cool to see in this episode. What about you?
I really love this one. I thought it was great. I like you. I love Orko impersonating He-Man. I thought that was great. My first note was a snow episode. Yay! Because the first thing I thought of was it was one of those season, like one of the first 5 episodes of G1 where there was a snowstorm at the Ark, and like that's the first thing I thought of when I saw this episode. I was like, oh yeah, a snow episode. The Royal Family on Vacation. I think this is the most we've ever seen of Randor and Marlena together in the series so far. I mentioned that earlier. Okay, after He-Man scrunches up Beastman in the pot, there are Hanna-Barbera sound effects as he stumbles away. That's just awesome. There's that boink, boink, ding, boink, boink. It's not a He-Man. It's the... You know how they have the Hanna-Barbera logo that does the... You know what I'm talking about, right?
Sure.
Where Fred Flintstone is in your face at the end of it.
I'll go along with it.
It's Hanna-Barbera sound effects. I thought that was pretty cool. I I love that they treated Orko as a real character and not just a joke in this episode. The fact that he learns a lesson is very well thought out. And what I mean by that is he's... Okay, yeah, sure. Orko is normally the jokester. Orko is normally the bumbling magician. But at least in this episode, they wrote him very well, and he had to act and he had to, be a hero this time around. He couldn't just, fumble his way through it. He had to actually think about stuff, and I really liked that. I thought that was great.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, well, since this episode took place in Snake Mountain, it's only fitting that we go there now, into the snake's mouth.
Wait until we get inside.
Inside? And how do we do that?
Through the mouth of the snake.
The mouth?
All right, in Snake Mountain, we find a couple of things. First of all, I find the king and queen skiing in their royal outfits. That just seemed weird to me. Come on, get some snow boots or some jackets or some snow pants or something. You're in your freaking robe, like your gown and everything. That was kind of weird. Not the lightsaber again. Please stop doing that. Man-at-Arms. Kind of compromising that Adam is frozen as he is half drawing his sword, isn't it?
Well, it's... Adam is frozen, like, he's already drawn the sword, but how they froze him was somehow the sword slipped out of his hand.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like...
Because the sword is floating above his hand, like, it's not in his hand, it's above his hand.
Well, I'm just saying, what if Orko would have picked Tila?
Shoot.
And then she would have been like, why is Adam holding a sword above his hand?
Orko knows, but Orko knew better, obviously, because Orko knows the secret.
Yeah. Skeletor, not very good at knowing what's going on in his own lair.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Usually he can see all and knows all, but he was a little in the blind area today.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I like the Ice Lord. That's an epic name. He's got a cool voice. He's got a cool look. And I like the Ice Princess until they call her Snowflake. Are you freaking serious? No human being should ever be called Snowflake. That is the name of a pet. That is the name of something else. That is not the name of a princess of the ice world. I don't know. What about you, sir?
Well, you mentioned that Skeletor doesn't know what's going on in his own lair. Remember, he mentions that, I can't see in the ice mountains or the mist mountains, or I forget what he calls the region of ice. He says he can't see because of interference. Somehow they're in... What I'm thinking is the fact that he's got the princess trapped and she has these ice powers somehow.
That could be. That's a good way to explain it away.
I'm not trying to... I'm just saying, like, that could be a possible explanation as to why he doesn't know what's going on, at least out in the ice mountains. I only wrote 2 things down. I really love this episode in general, mainly because of Orko. But while I know Duncan is an amazing eventer, there's no way in hell that remote controller skis would work that well. I've been skiing before, and it takes extreme balance and coordination. Sadly, at 6, I had none of that, and I've never gone skiing again. But, like, they had a remote control, and their feet, obviously, because your feet have to be in the bindings in skis. I get that, but there was no poles, just a remote control, and they skied that well. I call bullshit on that. That's just dumb. It's just fucking dumb. I get that He-Man is strong and all that, and they have to show that off, but seriously? Wouldn't pounding on the door cause more alarm than just pushing the fucking button to let her out? He seriously had to knock that door down when all you had to do is just press the fucking button. Really?
I also didn't like that when the snake's mouth closed to trap He-Man and all them in there. It didn't close all the way. And then there was plenty of room for them to get out, but He-Man still felt the need to, like, try to pry it open more.
Yeah.
That was kind of weird, because it wasn't closed.
It was, like, half closed, but it was closed enough where they, like, a human couldn't fit out. Like, unless, you weighed, like, 98 pounds. There's no way you were going to get out of there.
Okay. I'll buy it.
I wasn't selling it, so...
Anything else bad about this episode?
No, like I said before, and like I'll say when we get down to the hardware, I really enjoyed this one. I can pretty much overlook the two things that I brought up, but we'll get there, I guess.
All right, I have a feeling we have some similar stuff to say in the next section, so let's go to the Ice Hall of Awards and Hardware and Rankings.
You were looking for Ice Hall of Fame, weren't you?
Something like that. Ice Trophy Room.
You're beginning to sound like Cringer.
But Skeletor's home.
You did okay against that giant ice spider.
Sure, but now that you're He-Man, you can handle anything without me.
I'm going to need all the help I can get. After all, I'm only your assistant.
Oh, that. Well, I had to say something to get him to release Prince Adam.
It's all right, Orko. I'm just joking. You did a terrific job. I couldn't have done better myself.
Really?
Really?
All right, we're in the Ice Trophy Room, and so I can beat you to the punch since I'm hosting this episode. Power Sword for Orko. That's what you were going to say too, right?
I was going to say it a little bit differently, though.
What were you going to say?
Really enjoyed the episode. I have to give a power sword to He the Orko Man.
So is that He-Man or Orko?
It's both. No, it's Orko, but because he was pretending to be He-Man, I guess technically it could be both.
Orko was cool. Orko tricked everybody into thinking he was He-Man. He negotiated in the fact that he knew he needed to Prince Adam to get out. Got him out. He did cool stuff all the way through the episode.
And I love the back and forth after Adam is freed, and the comedy bits between them. It's just
like Orko sometimes confused.
Yeah.
Don't ask Orko.
Assistant.
Yeah.
After all, just your assistant.
I thought that was great. And on as far as a ranking system 0 to 5, how many Orkos you give this one?
Easily 5.
An easy 5.
Yeah.
I will dissent a little bit as usual and give this one a 4. I really liked the episode. It was a good episode as far as the action goes. The plot was cool. The ice people were cool, trying to free this and that and the other. There was just I didn't really dig the whole skiing vacation thing at the beginning. That was kind of weird to me.
It was. One of the reasons why I liked it and didn't mind it was because it was finally something that the entire royal family plus Man-at-Arms and Teela were actually doing outside of the palace. Like I said before, this is and I hate to keep being a broken record with this, is the first time we've seen extended looks at Randor and Marlena together, especially with their son. That's why I kind of like it. I understand why you don't like it, but I don't know. I
still like it. I'm not going to give it a 5. I mean, it's still one of the best episodes of the series. Anything that gets a 4 or above is really good. So I just gave it a 4, but just because it didn't have that special something to knock it up into the 4.5, 5 range, like Manny Faces had the appearance of Manny Faces, so that knocked it up to the 4.5 for me. This one just sits at a 4. Still good. And with that, we have crossed the halfway point into season 1. So let's go to a commercial break, get some Geekcast Radio stuff in there, and we'll come back with our thoughts on the first half of season 1.
Manny, could you help me with a problem?
Sure, Orko.
I can never remember anything. How do actors learn their speeches?
By rehearsing. We practice saying them again and again. Well, that's what you have to do. If you're trying to remember something from school, say it to yourself over and over again. Rehearse it in your mind just like an actor.
Say goodbye, say goodbye, say goodbye.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm trying to remember to say goodbye. Bye! It
worked! Is this thing on? Oh, goody. Why, hello there. It's your dear old Uncle Joker here. I bet you're asking yourself, what could I be possibly doing here of all places? Well, I'm laughing at the fact that this new podcast presented by Geekcast Radio is called Legends of the Dark Knight. Who the heck knew the Bat was so popular? Ugh. Join Steve, Mike, and sometimes Tara for reviews on the greatest DC animated universe cartoon to ever meet Gotham City. So join moi for the talk of the town, or I'll send Captain Cloud after you. He gets mighty angry when he doesn't get to have his garbage skull. So put on a nice big smile and join us for the next Geekcast Radio Network podcast, Legends of the Dark Knight.
Soundwave, jam that transmission!
Rumble frenzy, ravage, rat-bat, eject, operation interference.
No, there will be no Operation Interference. I am TFG1Mike, and you should be listening to my very first podcast, the TFG1 Podcast. 24 episodes covering the entire U.S. run of the 1984 Transformers cartoon. I also have a few supplemental episodes and an interview with Stan Bush. I bring in guest hosts who will be full-time co-hosts in Steve Megatron and fan of the show, now co-host Pecan Court Michael. So check out the TFG1 Podcast. You can find it on iTunes and the web at www.geekcastradio.com. Transform and roll out.
Today we saw Professor Smolin find a great treasure. It wasn't gold or jewels, but something even more precious, knowledge. There are many places to find knowledge, and one of the easiest and best is a museum. Museums are storehouses of knowledge where you can see and learn all sorts of fascinating things. There's probably one close to you, so pay a visit. Remember, knowledge is power, and you can get the power.
You can now hear the Geekcast Radio Network while on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher is a free-use and talk mobile app available for your smartphone. And when you download Stitcher to hear Geekcast Radio, you'll have a chance to win money. Downloading is quick and easy. Just find Stitcher in the App Store. During registration, hit the promo code box and enter Geekcast Radio, all one word, to get automatically entered to win $100. The latest episodes of the shows will be waiting for you in your favorites. You'll get access to lots of other amazing shows too. Always available to you on demand, no syncing. It's Stitcher Smart Radio. Don't forget to enter promo code Geekcast Radio when you register.
Pixels in the Animation is the next cartoon review podcast series in the Geekcast Radio Network's long history of review series. We've had Transformers, He-Man, and Mask as far as the cartoon review podcasts we have done. Now we bring in TV's Mr. Neil as he and TFG1Mike break down 9 video game cartoon series. Steve Megatron will join us for the Mega Man and Sonic episodes. We will be reviewing and analyzing every episode of the Mario, Zelda, Captain N, Mega Man, Donkey Kong, and Sonic cartoons. You can expect us to go in-depth and also talk about the game franchises that spawned these cartoons. So tune in summer 2013 as we find the pixels in the animation.
Orko certainly helped us out in today's adventure, and he learned a good lesson too. He made a promise to the Ice Lord he thought he could break, but Adam showed him you shouldn't make a promise knowing you're not going to keep it. People judge you by many things: your appearance, your honesty, the way you act. Those things show your character. When you make a promise and don't keep it, it shows bad character. So always think before you speak and mean what you say. That way what you say will be respected. See you again soon.
All right, thanks for sticking with us. Since we have now reached the halfway point of Season 1 in this episode, I thought we'd just take a brief moment before we give our thoughts on the series overall, just to share a little bit of stats and information for you. We've had some people that have been wondering if we're keeping track of ongoing rankings and power swords and havoc staffs and stuff like that. And
Mr. Mathematician over there does all that crap.
I do have the spreadsheet going with all that, and we're also going to connect it to writers to see who the best and worst writers are eventually. Not in this episode, but I was curious because I didn't know how many of each ranking I had given out. I've given 2 zeros. I didn't know I'd given 2 zeros, but I have given 2 zeros. And you, sir, have also given 2 zeros. So we're at the same as far as the low end. As far as 5s go, I have given, you've given 8 of them through 33 episodes. And I have given 3 of them. So I'm a little more stingy, I guess, with my 5s. But we've run the gamut from 0 to 5. So far, our average ranking, this is kind of funny now that I've computed this episode into it, I'm that fast. Through 33 episodes, remember this is a 0 through 5 scale, my average rating on an episode is 3.348. 3.348.
Okay.
Yours is 3.344. So apparently I'm liking the series more than you are. No, I'm just kidding.
Whatever. I gave more 5s than you did, you bastard.
You just give also more 1s and 2s. As far as Havoc staffs, like we mentioned briefly in this episode, Tila is leading the way with 6 Havoc staffs, 3 from each of us, I believe is how it's broken down. The Sorceress is in second place because Mike has beaten her upside the head with a Havoc staff 3 different times.
Well, she didn't do stupid shit. She wouldn't get a Havoc staff up the ass.
So that's interesting. As far as the power swords, you would think He-Man, he's the leader, he's the main guy, but he's literally only got 5. He's got 5 power swords, so he is not leading the way. Orko has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 power swords. So I believe Orko is in the lead. The only one that could even be close would be the combination of Cringer / Battlecat,
right?
Who has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. So he's up there. We will have a breakdown at the end of the entire series to see who we like and who we don't like and all that other stuff. I just thought I'd get that out of the way. Now, since we are halfway through season 1, how are you liking the journey so far?
Absolutely love it. It's absolutely great. This episode 11 here pretty much erased anything we talked about last week in episode 10.
Yeah, I was not in a good place after last week. I was not enjoying myself, particularly with where every episode that we've done, I've been like, I can't wait to watch more episodes. It's awesome. And then finally, last week, I was like, maybe reality is setting in here. Maybe everything that everyone bad always says about He-Man, maybe the honeymoon's over. I had a 0, a 3, and a 3 last week. You had a 0, a 2, and a 3. It was just not pretty. And then Manny Faces came along, and Ice Region came along. Keeper of the Ancient Ruins, it's kind of a shitty episode today. But 2 out of 3, we are ranking real high. And so it all came back a little bit for me. The introduction of a new character like Manny Faces, who's just a classic He-Man character, finally getting to see him was awesome. We got a little bit of Skeletor, we got a little bit of, the Ice Lord, different characters that we hadn't seen before. A little bit of background on Manny Faces, a little bit of a spotlight kind of on Man-at-Arms and the Keeper of the Ancient Ruins, a tiny bit. We got some Orko moments, we got some He-Man moments. So, I'm still, like always, waiting for more backstory, waiting for more characters, waiting for this to go somewhere else and not just have these random, I know they're all mostly going to be episode of the week type things, but overall this week brought me back to how I've been feeling about the whole first half of the season 1, which is excellent.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, out of 11 episodes to make up the first half of season 1, we've had like one really bad episode in episode 10, whereas we didn't care for
any of
you know what I mean? Normally we don't have an entire episode where we hate on all 3.
Well, and it was right after episode 9, which was kind of the same, because in episode 9 we each hated 2 of the 3 episodes.
Right.
So, I mean, it was like back-to-back episodes where it was like kind of like, ugh. And so, this was a much-needed one. And, I knew I liked He-Man as a kid. And I have fond memories of He-Man. And I have fond memories of the toys and all this other stuff. But like we said way back in, episode 0 or 1 or whatever, we really haven't seen any of these episodes, minus 1 or 2 here and there, since we were kids. And, with all the ripping that this show gets, I was not coming into this expecting to like it or dislike it. I was coming into this, knowing that a lot of my childhood nostalgic memories were probably going to get shattered. And so far, they haven't.
Yeah, they haven't for me either.
I don't know. Maybe something's going to change in the second half of Season 1 and into Season 2. But so far, this is holding up. And this is not just me being a He-Man fan, because I was a Mask fan, and I have no problem ripping the shit out of that right now. Or other shows if they need be. But this is holding up pretty darn well for an 80s cartoon. I don't say that, I don't want to mean, 80s cartoons are bad or anything. I'm just saying, for as much crap as people throw on 80s cartoons, this is holding up real well. This is rising the ranks as far as all-time cartoon series go for me.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I mean, yeah, sure, we like I said, one or two pretty bad, series of episodes between episode 9 and 10, but still, it overall. And at this point, I don't even think we can say it's nostalgic, because I even said today, I did not remember the Manny Faces. I barely remember Manny Faces at all. So it's not just us saying, oh, well, we want our childhood back, damn it. It's not that at all at this point.
Right.
Sure, at the very beginning, episode 1 of the podcast, when I was like, oh my God, Jawbridge, the Jawbridge scene, that's nostalgia. Mm-hmm. At this point, I am just going into each episode okay, cool, we'll deal with this and we'll see what it is, and if I like it, I like it, if I don't, I don't. And I think it's that I'm rediscovering a lot of the characters. Like I said, Orko. That's one of the reasons why I use Orkos for my rankings, because Orko is not just a joke one-off character that people always hate on. He's not that at all. And I think if people actually went back, like we're doing, and watched the episodes, whether it's on the DVDs out of order, or whether it's in air date order, or whatever, they would find that it is enjoyable. Mm-hmm. And it is also a living hell sometimes, but it's not just, oh my God, this is 80s animation. This animation sucks because it's from the... It's not that at all. It just isn't.
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to see what the second half of Season 1 brings us. I've seen some of the titles of some of the episodes, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we do here. Some faces we will see again. Some faces we will see for the first time. I'm looking forward to see what happens here.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for listening to the Tales of Eternia. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show or avoid guilt trips and blackmail, here are some things that you should listen to. First, go to the website, www.geekcastradio.com. You can find every episode of Tales of Eternia, and you can comment on the post. You can get in on discussions that we've already had, add your 2 cents into different debates that we've had on things, point out stuff, tell us what you like about the show, tell us what you don't like about the show, whatever. We would like to hear everything and anything about our podcast. Otherwise, we'll continue the status quo. You can send email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. And if you don't, here's where the guilt trip part comes in. If you don't want to get guilt tripped, go to iTunes. Feedback. 5-star reviews. Feedback, please. Yes.
We have 2 reviews in iTunes. All you people, specifically, and I have to do this, I don't care. Specifically, Count Marzo. We announced this show 2 years ago. And he's like, oh my God, you guys, 2 years, that's too long to wait, blah, 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 blah. Where's the iTunes review, dude? I know that dude lives in the U.S. I don't know where, but I know he lives in the U.S. So it's one of those things where anyone who is, if you're a listener in the U.S., leave us iTunes reviews. We always read them on the air, whether they're good or bad. And I think that Kevin and I have done an amazing job, and I'm not just tooting our horns here. I'm just saying, shut up. As far as just being, telling you up front, we're going to say what we like. We're going to say what we don't like. So it's not like we're not going to take, criticism poorly. So for those of you who don't live in the U.S., if you do write us an iTunes review and it gets published in iTunes, say in England or Canada or wherever, email it to us. We'll read it on the air. We always do.
Yes. So. Follow us on Twitter. The show name, the channel name there's Geekcast Radio. What's your Twitter?
TFG1Mike.
And my Twitter, even though I never post on it, is OptimusSolo. But if you do tag me in a post, I will get it and I will respond. But if you just make a random post, I will never see them because I don't go to Twitter, except for very randomly. Become a fan of us on Facebook, facebook.com/GeekCastRadio Network. Call the voicemail line. Tell us that you're leaving a voicemail for the Powers of Grayskull. Leave your message. Give us a name to call you. Take your time. You got 5 minutes. Nice and clear. 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoyed the tales today, and don't forget to join us on our next adventure when we will be discussing episodes 34, 35, and 36, Mask of Power. Uh-oh. Is that a crossover?
Who the hell let the Thunderhawk in here?
Is that a crossover, Mask of Power? Is that a name of a podcast or something? Anyway, Ordeal in the Darklands, and City Beneath the Sea. For now, I'm OptimusSolo with
TFG1Mike, and I'm betting City Beneath the Sea is a Merman episode.
I hope so. I haven't seen him for a long time. By the powers of Grayskull, we all have the power.